When it comes to auditing a website from an on-page SEO perspective, the first thing which you want to do is audit the website's URLs. Now, there's two parts to auditing a website URL. You have number one, which is finding dead pages. So this can include things such as finding 404 pages and finding any 301 redirects that website has. The second part of auditing website URLs is what we call optimization. Now, this only applies to new websites and sites that have no ranking in Google. So when it comes to optimization, you want to audit the website URLs to ensure they have four main things. Those four things are including your biggest keyword in the URL. Number two, you want to make sure that you don't keyword stuff your URL. I see so many people out there that literally just try and stuff as many keywords as possible in the URL. Please don't do it. It looks unnatural and you're only going to do more harm to your website. Number three, you want to avoid repeating words as well. And number four, the shorter the better. So don't go out there and try and have the longest website URL possible just because you're trying to stuff keywords in there. The shorter and the more concise your URL, the better it's going to be for Google to understand exactly what your page is about. Just to clarify why the optimization only applies to new websites and sites with no ranking is because if you optimize an existing client's website that is ranking on page one on Google and you notice that they're not including the keyword in the URL, you don't really want to go ahead and start changing that existing URL that already has backlinks pointing to it, as what that means is you potentially have the chance of losing all of that SEO juice and power that that existing URL has. Yes, you can 301 redirect the old URL to the new one, but it's really not worth playing around with, especially if that page is already ranking really high in Google. You're way better off optimizing the website from a different aspect such as on-page SEO, for example. So now we covered the theory behind URLs, let me head over to Screaming Frog and I'll give you a real-time walkthrough to show you exactly how it's done. The website I'm going to be using is this one right here. It's called greenathome.co.uk. Once again, just to clarify, I do not own this website. I have no affiliation with it whatsoever. I simply went onto Google and I carried out a search for Landscaping Company London. I went over to page 4 on Google, as you can see, and this is the website right here. The reason why I've used a website on page 4 is because, of course, all the websites on page 4 of Google could do with a hand when it comes to SEO auditing and the general SEO of the website. So what I'm going to do is copy the website URL. I'm going to go over to Screaming Frog. Then at the top, I'm going to enter in the URL and click Start to begin the crawl process. The crawl is now finished, and as we are auditing the URLs of this website, what we want to do is make sure we go over to the URL tab at the top right here. Simply give that a click and it's now going to show you all of the URLs on that website. So you can see we get quite a bit of information. We have the address, the content type, the status code, the status, indexability, indexability status, hash, and so on and so on. It can be a little bit confusing to review right here in Screaming Frog. So what I actually highly recommend you do is you actually go ahead and click export, like so, by clicking this button up here. Then all you need to do is go for the type that you'd like the export to save as. So I'll leave mine as CSV, comma separated values. However, if you prefer to work on Excel or Google Sheets, then feel free to go for that. I'll leave mine as CSV and then click save. And then what you want to do is open up that spreadsheet, which is exactly what I have right here. Let me just zoom in a little bit as it can be quite hard to see. Just going to expand the first row right here, row A, so we can actually see the URL. Just going to make all of these bold as well. And I'm going to go over to view and I'm going to freeze the top row so we can scroll and still see exactly what all of these columns are. So one thing which I've noticed already is that under column F, under indexability, we have the word there saying canonicalized. You can see it says right here and there. So what this tells me is that there are multiple versions of this website in Google. The reason I know that is because when you use the canonical tag on a page, you are basically telling Google to ignore this page as there is a different page on your website, which is the primary source of information. So if we look at this URL, I will zoom in a little bit more just once again to make sure everyone can see that. You can see this row right here, row number 24, is HTTP. And if you look below that, we've got HTTPS. So it's very clear that this website has multiple versions. Now, if you remember what I said in the previous video in this course, you only want to have one version of your website live and every other version should redirect to that page. So if I go back to that website, what's actually really interesting to see is that on the homepage, they have, the padlock symbol, the site is secure, it's HTTPS. And if I take off the S, let's see if it redirects. So the homepage does indeed redirect. So let's go to one of the service pages. HTTPS still. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the S on one of the service pages and have a look if it directs. And as you can see, this page is not secure. So what's really interesting to see is that they've only set up the redirect on the home page and it hasn't been done site-wide. This is exactly why I said when you check if a website has one version, you want to check it on your inner pages as well, as sometimes what you'll see, like this website, the home page will redirect, but the inner pages won't redirect. So this is a really good example just to show you how important that is. Because essentially, all the information we have in this spreadsheet right here, a lot of it is going to be duplicates of the same page in just another version. So what I'm going to do is simply go ahead and add a filter to this indexability column, just so I can see all of them that are canonicalized. So click here, and I want to go for canonicalize right here. And now you can see all the pages on the website which are listed as a canonical. So all I'm going to do is just simply zoom out a little bit just so I can select them all. And I'm now going to delete them as we don't actually need them on our spreadsheet. Now do bear in mind the website you are working on, it might not have this issue. So if it doesn't, simply skip past this part right here. So let me go ahead and select them all now. And that should have removed all the HTTP ones. And as you can see, it's now back to all HTTPS like so, which is great. So let me just scroll back to the top like so. So once you've got rid of those URLs, the next thing which you want to do is add a filter to the second column, which is going to be content type. As you can see, we've got a lot of URLs. We've got some WordPress logins. We've got some content uploads, lots of random URLs, which we don't really need to see. So to filter all of these out, let's go and add a filter to our second column like so. And now we only want to see this one right here, text/HTML, and as you can see, that's now removed a lot of those really weird WordPress URLs. We do have a few, but the bulk of them are definitely gone, which is nice, and I can actually start to see some of the main service pages like so, and on the areas they cover, which is all nice. So once you've added these filters, the next thing which you want to do is simply clean up the remaining parts of the spreadsheet and remove all the parts which you don't actually need. So we don't need this one right here, indexability. This can be deleted. We don't need the hash, that can also be deleted. We don't need the canonical link element 1, so that can be deleted as well. And we don't need the URL encoded address, so that can also be deleted. So now you can see our spreadsheet looks a lot more cleaner and it's a little bit easy to digest exactly what is going on. Now, if you remember what I said when it comes to auditing website URLs, there is two parts to the process. There's number one, finding dead pages up here. Then you have the second part, which is optimization. So let me show you how to carry out the first part, which is finding dead pages. So that would be any 404 or 301 redirects the website actually has. So it's very easy to do. All you need to do is go to status code. And then what you want to do is deselect all of them and simply go for 404 like so. And now the spreadsheet is going to show you all of the 404 pages on that website. So what do you do when you find a 404 page on a website? Well, the first thing which you need to do is analyze that specific URL. So we have this URL right here at the top. It's a status 404. It looks to be like a WordPress login page. Let me just click it and then go over to Google. Let's carry out a search for that URL just to make sure it is indeed a WordPress login page. As you can see, it says, sorry, page not found, and it is indeed a WordPress login page. There's no redirects or nothing like that. So basically, as this page is going to have literally 0 backlinks pointing to it, I know that for a fact, or I'm almost 99% confident, just because it's a WordPress login URL, it's very, very unlikely that this page has any SEO value for the website. If it did, then what I would want to do is set up a 301 redirect and redirect this page to the closest page on the website. So if it was a page maybe about landscaping services, I would redirect this page to our landscaping services page. However, in this instance, there's not that much we need to worry about, and we can simply leave the page as it is. Yes, that is right. We can literally leave the page as it is. A lot of old-fashioned SEOs would tell you that you actually have to remove the page from Google's index. That is actually not true. We actually have the support article right here by Google. They do have a tool which allows you to remove URLs from the index. However, if you actually scroll down and read what it says on this page, I'll zoom in once again, you can see it says when not to use this tool. You shouldn't use it to clean up your stuff like old 404 pages. So this tool is not for that, so please ignore any advice you see online in blogs saying you should remove URLs. That is simply not true. Just follow Google's advice. What I'll do, I'll actually link to this as an external link in the resources so you can refer to it in your own time. So if I go back to my spreadsheet, you can see we've got a lot of WordPress login URLs, so nothing to worry about whatsoever. We've got a URL right here, which seems to be a portfolio. So go ahead and then search for that in Google once again. And as you can see, this page is not found. So in this instance, as it can actually result in a poor user experience of someone who's trying to visit this portfolio item, what you do want to do is actually go ahead and redirect this page to another item in the portfolio. So that is pretty much it for 404 pages. When it comes to 301 redirects, it's pretty much the same process. You want to untick 301, untick 404, sorry, and then select 301. And now you can see all the 301 redirects on the website. And you simply want to go through these URLs and just make sure that all these URLs should indeed be 301 redirects. So that covers the first part of auditing URLs when it comes to finding dead pages. Now let me go through exactly how you would cover the optimization aspect for brand new websites. So let me go back over to my spreadsheet. What I'm going to do is change the status code to show us 200, which is basically all the URLs which are absolutely fine on the website. So again, let's just imagine this is a brand new website. It's got no backlinks pointing to the page whatsoever. So let me go ahead and show you exactly how I would rewrite these URLs. So let's take this URL here, for example. It's the waste removal page. If I copy that and then go over to Google and carry out a search for that, we can see they are targeting the keyword waste removal services in London. So they're clearly based in London. They've got the content below. So one thing which stands out to me already is a targeting London, and London should be part of the keyword. So what they're actually missing is not including the full keyword in the URL. So instead of having waste removal, I would actually change this to waste removal London. As if you remember what I said on the PowerPoint slides, you want to include your biggest keyword in the URL, which of course, as a page is about waste removal in London, London is going to be part of the biggest keyword. So that's pretty much the process you would follow when auditing a website from an optimization process. There's not that much you can do when it comes to optimizing URLs other than making sure that the URL is short, which indeed ours is, and that it includes the keyword you're targeting. That is it for this one, and I'll see you in the next video.